Nous sommes ravis de vous accueillir.
We are really delighted to welcome you for this conference about innovation, agility, trust, cloud native security. Is it possible? And this is the topic of our panel. And I'm going to be with, of course, Nassima and Kader Sedak, who is a business developer in Orange Center, CYBERDEFENSE. Sorry, there is a sound problem.
Rejoindre d'une minute à l'autre. Merci à tous d'être là.
Thank you very much for being here. It's not necessarily the best time of the day for a meeting. So shall we start? Maybe one very simple question. What are the challenges of the cloud and what are the security challenges? Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all of you. Maybe before answering the question, I would like to tell you that I've started in the cloud 10 years ago. The customers then, very many of them wanted to go to the cloud and to look for capabilities, storage, and also flexibility, agility. Mainly, they wanted to use their app as such. So it's a lift and shift strategy. You are going to migrate apps without necessarily reshuffling their design. Today, cloud migration for customers is to upgrade their apps. It's a cloud-first strategy, and the upgrade very often means innovation, agility through short-term cycles, very many innovation through different services of the cloud providers, like machine learning, artificial intelligence, very many different services that you already know. And thanks to this innovation and agility, these apps can be deployed in a more rapid manner and also to be updated on a more frequent way. And this will allow all those apps and all those customers to reduce their time to market and to have a significant competitive advantage. So I'm going to talk about two examples. I'm sure that you all know and we use them on a daily basis. Two apps that have disrupted their own markets because of their vision of the market. And they have used since the beginning the cloud and the use of cloud-native apps. As you can see on the screen, for Netflix, it's more than 600 production services and more than 100 deployments every day. So it's production, but also thousands of deployments every day. So through these apps, we can see, or through these applications, well, you look at Netflix at home as user, you can see all these deployments. So it's just to highlight what the cloud can bring to you for your daily uses. So what is behind these cloud-native applications, implementations? They are based on three pillars. First of all, it's just more microservices. What is a microservice? For example, the history of your purchases. There are very many services that will allow the development teams to deploy and develop, update components for these more microservices and to create components in a more agile way. Second pillar, it's what is underlying the apps. You need resources, network resources, very many different resources. And since everything is virtual, they are going to be deployed through scripts. They are called as code infra, and this is called EAC. They will allow you to deploy these different facilities and to automate the deployments. The third pillar is the new model that has been existing for a while and which is used systematically in cloud-native implementations and DevOps. This will allow you to have short-cycle developments and agile ones. So through these three pillars, thanks to them, you will be able to develop cloud-native implementations and microservices on containers, components, where you are going to use the apps. And thanks to these elements, as I was saying at the beginning, your service is going to be innovative, agile, very rapid. So what about security now? Today, as soon as you understand these cloud native environments, the security, in order not to interrupt the benefits of the cloud, it should be integrated in these environments, not to be a hindrance, an obstacle for all the teams that develop these on a daily basis. I come back to the second part of my presentation to give more details about how security can be deployed in these environments. Thank you, Kader. Yes, you talked about innovative services, microservices, automations, about DevOps. Our customers have to use a digital, trustworthy environment. What is a digital trust, actually? Thank you very much. First of all, during these last years, we have talked a lot about sovereign cloud, trustworthy cloud, with different approaches sometimes. Before sharing with you one approach or a position of Orange Business Services, I would like to come back to some basic elements. What is the cloud? The cloud, these are physical facilities where you have servers, and they are designed in order to just implement apps, softwares, etc. So Kader talked about the innovative feature of the cloud. Yes, there is no doubt about it. Cloud is an actual opportunity for public companies and private companies. So it's an actual opportunity, and it is also a risk. Why? As soon as you give your data to an operator in a physical or software environment, which is not our environment that you do not control, there are risks. You can lose the control of your data can be misused, and therefore, we talk about trustworthy cloud, the need of being able to control the data in the public cloud, or at least to be able to choose about the dependencies that you might accept, mainly for risk management. So now, what could be the very definition of the digital trustworthiness of the cloud? We believe that what is interesting, first of all, is to say that digital trust in the cloud is variable. You have to provide guarantees to your customers according to their needs, their background, the level of sensitivity of their data. For example, if you have a multinational companies in the luxury sector, they are not going to have the same needs as a company, a national company who takes care of energy. Or a big company is not going to have the same needs as an SME that works at the local level. So this is important. Now, these guarantees are going to be based on different criteria, on the needs of the customers, who are going to give their data, their apps. But there are different elements that cannot be changed. First of all, it's the security, and you also have regulation issues. We all know the regulation on private lives, and you have the Cloud Act. These are legal measures, and their first aim is to protect the country that have started with these measures, and at the same time, these protection measures can be invasive. For example, the US legal system can get your data as soon as the operator is the US operator. So security, regulation, but also resilience and stability. Maybe people don't talk about this. When you talk about digital trust, it means you give your data to a trustworthy operator. You want to have a continuity in your service. And then you have a whole range of criteria which will depend on the needs and the background of each of the operators. Some people will be very digital about the fact that data should be very close by. Then some people are going not to trust the operators who are not domestic operators, maybe just to give other elements. And what is the position of Orange? Historically speaking, Orange has facilities and a know-how, skills on the IaaS. That is to say, you provide solutions and services on private cloud and public cloud. A few years ago, we decided to choose and have a complementary managed services on different platforms of the partners, and we have in mind our aim of providing guarantees to the customers. I insist on the level of expectations, their needs, and there is also this issue of security. In the invariables, of course, security is so important. How can you reconcile security and trust? Kader, maybe you can come back to the cloud security approach of Orange. Yes. How? Yes, of course, we think that there is no digital trust without security. And even more, as we have seen it in the first part, we are convinced that it is necessary today about the specific features of the cloud. We have seen about innovation, microservices, DevOps, the way the cloud-native apps are being designed, and all their benefits. We are convinced that today we have to rethink about cybersecurity in the age of these native clouds. We are experts in cybersecurity in Orange. As you can see on the screen, is that in these environments, which are very agile, very innovative, where you have to speed up increasingly, how, as just some of you know it already, how do we help our customers about the threat? So protection, mapping out, detection, response. When we think reshuffle our own thinking, how can we think again about our own services so that they can get integrated in these environments? Security should not be a hindrance, an obstacle. And also people should just make it their own. Otherwise, it's going to be put aside. You are going to have apps which are going to be very vulnerable. Okay, when we have reshuffled our thinking, what about the response of security? We have to have a cloud-native security. What does this mean exactly? It's a security which is going to integrate it in a whole development cycle of cloud-native apps. So it's the DevOps chain or CI/CD pipeline. We are going to integrate security in a native manner. So the first thing is that, just like in the DevOps chain, everything is going to be integrated. First of all, we are going to have shift left. That is to say, security is going to be upstream in the level of the code development. So we are going to integrate security solutions. We are going to scan the code, the dependencies. And this will allow, as we have seen it about what has happened in the news, to just fight against the vulnerable points. Secondly, cloud-native security is to integrate security in the whole life cycle of the development of the DevOps. And since we use lots of automation and script, everything is as code. So you have to prevent the wrong configurations. So we are going to have new solutions which are going to get integrated in this very cycle through API. Security is going to be an as code. We are going to have new solutions for managing the non-compliances. So it's management of non-compliance, and we are going also to see, we are going to have everything in an as code. We are going to do Scanyac. I'm going to give you a few examples to show you that we have to think again about cybersecurity. You cannot use it in the usual environment. You are going to scan your as code environments. Everything is a microservice. Everything is about containers. Just as an example, what is striking, a few years ago when we were at school, a web app, it was a web server, and then you have an app. Today, a cloud-native app is between 100 to 1,000 containers. We are to have microservices, microcomponents. It means a huge innovation. But the counterpart element is that you are going to have a lack of visibility. So the containers are going to talk among themselves. So you have to think about this again and new ways of doing things. Microsegmentation, for example. What about the production in implementation environments? So you have to have production containers. We are going to protect them. You are not going to protect the app, but each container. And we are going to have protection platforms. So what I would like to say is that there is a new way of operating cybersecurity, so that security is operated in the same way as the app development itself. And to create a consistency of the whole, they have created a category called CNAP, Cloud Native Application Platform, that sums up this whole security that I mentioned through platforms. And we work with our different partners who bring these solutions and who answer this issue to bring a cloud-native security. So for us, just to come back to what was said by Nassima, we are convinced that cloud-native security is an answer. It's not the very answer, but one of the answers or responses in order to have digital trust in these innovative and agile environments. Thank you very much, Kader, for this clarification. Mourad, bonjour. Hello. Everything is fine? Yes. Are you okay? Sorry. No problem. Mourad, thank you very much for being with us. Mourad is a manager of security in Air Liquide. We thought that it was interesting for you to share your point of view. My first question is, what about your cloud transformation? Can you give us some clarification about your, can you update us? The cloud transformation is a huge journey. We started that 7 years ago in the workplace, and we have been doing for workplace messengers. And when there was a need of our internal customers, they were used with this word cloud. They started to taste this agile tool, and they wanted to use this machine with one single click. Our customers wanted to innovate or use this because it was so easy. And this is why we started to just start to put some hindrances. And we didn't want the business to be alarmed because it didn't have enough skills to deploy all the environment with all these apps. So this was a kind of small hindrance for 5 or 6 months to study fully all the cloud offers. What is this animal, which is rather odd? And it was more agile, but there is also a risk. It gave the possibility to the business owners to create whatever they wanted through different clicks. So in our security sector, we saw this risk. So we changed our strategy and we said, we are going to study the different cloud offers. We want everything to be safe. We are going to provide a marketplace in Air Liquide where we are going to create a safe and controlled environment. Maybe I can give more details. So what about the transformation? In Europe and in the present data center, it's some 80% of data centers that have been transformed. And in Azure and Google and Workplace is already 100%, but about North America, it's a contradiction, but it's some 60% less than Europe. And elsewhere is 98%. Africa, South Africa, for 2 years they have opened a center. This is 100%. So this is about the migration. So the impact is bigger in Asia, thanks to Boris, maybe. Yes, the elements that they chose in order to go towards the cloud, maybe it's a warning about the businesses and the clouders. Is their job. They say cloud is less expensive than, but don't get it wrong. You have to take some distance, and the cloud section is once or twice as much as a data center. If you think only about the cost, this is wrong. Yes, so it's mainly it's the being agile. This is the most important feature. So you started this transformation. You are forerunners. What has been your main challenges? We had talked about this together. Many challenges are there if you want to change also your IT mindsets, teams. Maybe you can share your challenges with us. Yes, the major challenge maybe was not to migrate the facilities toward the cloud the way they were. I don't use this wording because at the beginning, and this was our mistake, because you needed to have skills 5 years ago. Not very many people would know fully this environment. So we trained ourselves and we upgraded ourselves. If I can give some pieces of advice to companies who want to start this kind of migration, you have to redesign fully the facilities adapted to the cloud. So it should be by design. If you want to move something, you are not going to use fully the functions of the cloud. All the time you are going to have delays because your facilities are not going to be adapted, because it has been thought just like, to be a data center. It's not possible with the cloud, because the cloud, when we talk about an account, you know it. The vocabulary is not the same. If I talk about Amazon, an account is an environment. It's the identities, etc. This is one account. So in each app, they are going to have their own VPC.
Complètement oublié de dire.
And so you will just try to add cybersecurity firewall to the perimeter of this. So I don't think it's the right approach. You have to rethink the security, the infrastructure of your cloud. This is the first challenge you have to tackle. So really put the basis for the cybersecurity, because once it's started, it's too late. It's difficult to come back on it later. And then we focused on security, which is the topic of the day. You have to change the mindset. We have a knowledge, a know-how, a way to do things, the legacy way of doing things, with data center, the different websites, and you have to forget everything about it. This is not the way it works with cloud computing. You have several API, containers, so it's totally different in the approach. And I will try to be a bit, to summarize this a bit in 4 points. Sometimes we just try to use the same providers and the same technologies we already were using in the past, just out of ease. With the Fortinet or Checkpoints and so on, or Cisco, we were trying to use the same providers and use them for cloud. This is one of the biggest mistakes. Why? Because it doesn't work. You need to be supported by technologies that were designed for cloud. And then you have this agile system, because you don't have to, you can't forget why you are doing this migration to cloud. It's not just because you want it, no. The business is the one giving you the pressure to do it, because it wants to be agile, it wants to be fast, it wants to save money also, of course, but we have to know if there's a real saving there. And then you have to think about the identity access management, because it doesn't work the same way as in the legacy systems with an active directory and then the different protocols we would use. It's totally different now. If you take the example of AWS, so the Amazon system, this is one of the major providers right now. Well, the vocabulary used is not the same, so you have to be careful when you are talking about AEIM for AWS. It's not the same. If you're talking about SSO, the single sign-on, it's not the same either. So you have to start by studying the terminology and be able to align it to your business practices and understand how you will be interacting with it. And the third challenge, and it might be a piece of advice I would like to give after 5 or 6 years of experience, and this advice, it's about, this piece of advice is about skills, resources. Some of you might have started working on this migration and used the same people they had. because this is the same, this is just the same rules. No, that is not the case at all. You will end up in a mess. It will be impossible to get out of it. There is a lot of tension on the market right now. So 2 options for you, maybe 2.5. Either you get support from providers, or CD or others, that can support you in building the base for your system. Then, if you have this project, you might want to retrain your experts, your engineers, to this new technology. Because if you're looking on the market, it will take you 4, 8, even more months to find these people. The market is very tense right now. And I think we've already started with this discussion. We have to change the mindset about the legacy system. We had the console, and we encrypted it, and then so on. For AWS, it's totally different. We need to automate everything. This is why we were talking about the as code infrastructure or the Geek Cloud or other automation system. Otherwise, you will stay on the side. You will not be able to manage and master your system. This is my 3rd challenge. You need a compliance tool. On the legacy system, we had the mastering of everything. If there was a mistake somewhere on the output, we could check it and solve the issue with the firewall and so on. For the cloud part of it, it's not possible because you will not see the mistakes. There will be a transitive gateway automated to another client, another provider. You will never see the data. So you have to put in place a compliance tool. And I'm not talking about CM and so on. This is something different. But the piece of advice I would give you is really to start with these 3 pillars, think this strategy throughout, and do not give the green flag to your team to just do whatever they want. No, you have to do it smartly. Prepare the project. Organize this private marketplace for your company that will follow all the rules you need and put it at the disposal of the business. Thank you. It was very interesting. We could have been talking about this for hours. You've talked about automation, minds and change skills that are difficult to find on the market, and something that you are living through right now because you are doing this transformation. But you haven't talked about data. How do you deal with data at Air Liquide? This is quite an interesting topic. It's a conundrum to us. You might not know it, but we work with rare gases. We work also in the health area, and this leads to some issues. The major issue is that we thought that the world was a small village and that we would centralize everything and the laws are the same everywhere. Sadly, it's not the case. Just take Europe with GDPR. We had the SHREPS 2, the first decree on data. It had to be hosted personally and locally when it was about health, and it was to be posted in Europe. But in certain countries, such as Germany, they say it has to be hosted locally. So it's only for Europe. And I will then explain the solutions we've chosen and that were approved by the European Court. And for China, it's the same. They have their rules also about the personal data protection. So they say that the Chinese population data have to be hosted in China. So we've put everything on AWS, on Google. We know how they work. They are American, so we know there's an issue between China and America. So of course you will face these issues. So the cloud, it's great. We had all this idea that well, the world is now a big village, and we just have to share the data, and everything will be good. No borders. We all are very nice people, but this is not the case at all. So we could create regions in each country, but it's not easy to do. It will increase costs. If you talk about China, AWS is there in China, but not all the functionalities are there. Will you call upon Alibaba? You could. I do not have anything against them, but you would have to rethink all your security solutions, but it's possible to do. So what we decided at the end of the day is to work on encrypting our data. And you will tell me, of course, AWS, Azure, and Google, they offer encryption systems, but it is not valid for the European court. So we had to change our approach, and we changed our mindset. We decided to encrypt our system, a legacy system, by creating HSM that are private, that are not on the cloud, that are not at AWS, Azure, or other cloud provider. So we use this HSM. We have our own keys to encrypt the data. Or we have also certain providers, because we need European providers. A French one, why not? Thales, for example, that can offer this kind of encryption with HSM that are private and private keys. This is what we do now. For China, it's not the end of the story. We are still discussing with them. So you've rolled out a system in France and in the rest of the world. Well, we've started with the health area, with the patient's data. We've encrypted it. And we can see now that there's a request from the business to encrypt their data too, because they have clients that don't want the data to be visible or not, visible from the USA authorities. Maybe because, well, we've seen at least that on tenders, world tenders, they realized that some tenders were won by European companies and not American companies. So there is this question they are asking, and so you have the American, the Chinese, the Russian. They are good people. They are very nice, but we are all protecting our own money. That's normal. And so I'm maybe switching to another topic. And we are now talking about zero trust. It's not only about cloud, it's also the access, the data. We do not trust anyone. And no companies will trust another company. This is why we will encrypt our database with our own keys. After that, there's a risk, because you have to manage this encryption system. But that's an entire different topic with the zero trust as a CSSR. We could be talking about that for hours. Thank you very much, Maud, for being with us. Thank you very much, Kader. I hope we've answered your question about the possibility of having a native cloud security. How can we build trust around this security? It's possible to advance this topic with the right practices and the right strategies. And Kader explained to you what we can offer to our clients. But you build trust in the digital area, you need to build security. And so I would like on this to thank you for having attended this conference at this time of the day, which was not perfect, of course. Thank you.